Hi friends, Dr. Ed Bauman, Class 5. I'm just back from a 3-week vacation in Italy. Changed my look a little bit, relaxed, had fun, and part of being in Italy is when in Rome, eat what the Romans eat. So my wife and I went on a ravioli experiment. We had ravioli like every day. And we split a plate of ravioli. So I think that's a good lesson there is if you're going to eat something that's not your regular fare, enjoy it, but don't overeat it. So we had ravioli, we had bread, we had a little bit of cappuccino, a little wine, a little cheese, things that we don't eat regularly at home. Okay, and it was fine. I'm pretty strong and healthy. My digestion is good. I don't have multiple food sensitivities. So the lesson today for the whole class is about building strength. And strength is not just physical strength, but it's inner strength, inner discipline. Noticing things that work for us make us feel good, and things that don't work with us make us feel bad. And food is a really interesting mirror for us. If you eat pizza and you feel great, and you can do your work, and your brain works fine, and your blood sugar is stable, eat pizza. But think about what's on that pizza, what's in that pizza. If you eat pizza and you get tired, you get irritable, it's probably giving you a signal that it's not good food. And people do have food sensitivities to gluten, which is in wheat, rye, oats, and barley, and dairy, and we've eaten a lot of dairy in our time, milk products, less so with yogurt because it's cultured and fermented. People can have food sensitivity to eggs, they can have to corn, they can have to soy, they can have to chocolate, oh my God. But these are things for us to look at. So for this week and this segment, I encourage you to go on a food elimination diet. I call it a discerning diet. And if you can, or to the degree you're able, is cut down or give up wheat, dairy, and sugar. And see how you feel. You'll feel great. Most people I work with, when they want to lose weight and gain energy, I say start with giving up wheat, dairy, and sugar. And maybe for 2 or 3 days, there's a withdrawal, emotional, physiological, psychological. And then they start to go, wow, I slept better, I felt better, my energy was better, my mind was better. Because what we put in our mouth also affects what comes out of our mouth. It's very interesting. So today I want to introduce Chef Christine, and she's going to make a Tuscan white bean and mushroom stew along with the side salad. So enjoy your lessons, eat for health.
Thank you, Ed. Hi, my name's Christine, and welcome to Class 5 of our Gain Energy, Lose Weight series. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a Tuscan white bean and mushroom stew. Now, some things I love about this stew is that it's warming, which is great as we enter into the fall and the colder season. There are some white cannellini beans, mushrooms for some body, some charred vegetable broth, carrots, and a whole range of other nutrient-dense ingredients. I ate it a couple days ago with some chicken sausage, which was just delicious. My husband loved it, my kids enjoy it, and it will keep in the fridge for a couple days. You can freeze it really well. You can take it to work. It's very versatile. I'm going to show you how I like to chop a clove of garlic. It's very simple. The first thing I like to do is just cut off that end right there. And peeling it can sometimes be kind of a pain, but one way to get around that is to smash it with the flat side of your knife, and then the skin comes off really easily. When garlic is really fresh, the skin can be on there really, really tightly, and that's a way to really easily get it off. And now it's partially mashed, and I can just take my knife and really easily chop it into small, fine pieces. Now I'm going to show you how to chop a leaf of chard. One thing I really like about this stew is that it uses the entire piece of chard. It uses the leaf and the stem. One way to do it is to take your knife and gently apply pressure right along the stem and pull it along, and the leaf will come off quite nicely. Then you have two leaves like this. Another method of getting the leaf off of the stem is to rip it. Now I'm going to cut the stem into quite small pieces. The stem of chard is very fibrous, and it does take a little while to cook, so you don't want large pieces in your mouth. There, I'll chop some of the stem of chard. And then with the leaves, I'm going to chiffonade them. Place one leaf on top of the other, roll it up, and since these pieces are going to be quite long in the stew, one thing you can do is cut it in half, like that, before you cut it perpendicularly into ribbons. And then you will still end up with ribbons, but they won't be as long and as difficult to eat as if I didn't cut it in half first. There are two different types of beans. You can buy dried beans, or we could also use canned beans. Dried beans need to be soaked. These beans have been soaked overnight. They've been covered in about 2 inches of water. Drain and rinse them off after they have been soaked. And the canned beans are already cooked, and they also need to be drained and rinsed before using in. You can use just olive oil, or you could also use some ghee. I personally like a combination of both of them. My heat is on, it's in between medium and medium high. And the pot that I'm using today is a ceramic pot, but you can also use a regular stainless steel pot or a cast iron, whatever you have. So first I'm going to add some of our chopped red onion. And what I want to hear is it begin to sizzle. And then I know that the oil is warm enough so that it's actually cooking the onion and the onion's not absorbing the oil. And I'm going to let that just saute there for just about a minute. Then I'm going to add some chopped garlic. Both of these ingredients are great for our immune system as we're entering into cold and flu season, and they also add a lot of flavor. One thing I like to do to build flavor at each step is to add a little bit of salt, just a pinch. Not to make it salty, but to bring out the flavor of the individual ingredients. Once my onions are translucent and a little bit soft, they don't need to be too cooked, and I can smell the garlic. It's very fragrant. I'll add my carrots, which will add some great bright orange and a little bit of sweetness to the stew. Some celery for some added green and crunch. Now the ingredients in here are those of a traditional mirepoix, which is a great base for any kind of soup or stew that you're making. I'll add another pinch of salt right here, just to build flavor. It really was just a pinch. Next we'll put in some zucchini. Our mushrooms. We've used crimini mushrooms today, but you can use shiitake mushrooms or any other mushrooms that you enjoy. The mushrooms really add a nice heartiness to the stew. And the chard stems that we chopped up before. And I'm going to mix that all around for a little bit till it's nicely coated. I'll add another pinch of salt here. Vegetables have a very high water content, so they do need a good amount of seasoning afterwards. So adding the salt in stages means you won't have to add very much at the end. Now we're going to add our cannellini beans to the stew. I'm going to use the ones that I soaked overnight. They have been drained and rinsed and now need to cook. The beans are going to be the source of protein in the stew, which will help keep you full for longer and give you more energy. If you can't find cannellini beans or white beans, you could use pinto beans or black beans or any other kind of bean that you enjoy eating. And now I'm going to add some vegetable stock. You can use store-bought or homemade vegetable stock. If it is store-bought, I recommend that it has very little or no salt added, because as you saw, we add that through the cooking and we're going to add more spice later. You could also add water or chicken stock. For recipes on the vegetable or chicken stock, you can look in your Flavors of Health cookbook and it will tell you how to make it. I'm going to turn the heat up high and bring the stew to a boil. And once it's boiling, I'm going to put the lid on and turn the heat down to low and let it simmer for 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, I think that this is ready. It's been about 35 or 40 minutes. The beans should be soft enough and the flavors should be molded together really nicely and the other vegetables very palatable. So we're going to add some tomatoes. These are just chopped tomatoes. If it's not tomato season, it would be absolutely fine to use canned tomatoes as well. They would also taste delicious and add a really nice bright red color to the stew. I'm going to add the chard leaves that we chopped up before. The chard leaves, they wilt pretty quickly. You just have to make sure you get some liquid on top of them so it's easier for everything to fit into the pot. Now all of my vegetables have been added, so now we're going to season the stew. I have some chopped rosemary here. This is fresh rosemary, but dried rosemary is just fine too if that's what you have in your pantry. I'm going to add some fresh dill. Again, fresh dill, dried dill is okay as well if that's what you have in your pantry. Two really, really great ingredients for cold season as well. They're really good for your immune system, both antibacterial and antimicrobial. And they also add a very delicate flavor, which I really, really like. Next I'm going to add some cumin. This is ground cumin, some lemon juice, and then some raw apple cider vinegar. The apple cider vinegar and the lemon juice have been added to balance out the flavors and add a lot of brightness. Now we can do our final salting of the stew. I'll just take 2 large pinches of salt, stir it around well, and then I'm going to try it. That is just delicious. The addition of the lemon juice and the apple cider vinegar and the cumin really makes the soup not need much salt at all, which is just what we're after. So there you have it, our Tuscan white bean and mushroom stew. It can be eaten like this as a vegetarian version for lunch or dinner or leftovers. As I mentioned before, you could add chicken sausage, maybe some turkey or some regular chicken. You could put some goat cheese on top or some sheep cheese, however you see fit, or you could eat it with some rice or crackers. There are a lot of different ways that you can really enjoy this hearty, warming stew.